Oh, you finally made it. You, the one they swore they had under control. The one they monitored from the shadows of rooms you never stepped into. The one they dissected behind polished tables and forced politeness. The one they believed would never notice the way conversations shifted the moment your name surfaced. Sit down, because someone on their side finally snapped. And when they did, they didn't just slip, they detonated. They lost everything, their composure, their plan, their unity, and in the wreckage of their meltdown, they dropped the full bomb on who's been after you and why. Names spilled, motives spilled, entire strategies unraveled like a thread being pulled by shaking hands. What came out wasn't an accident. It was a collapse years overdue, and you're about to hear every detail they prayed you would never find out. It started with tension, quiet, unspoken, humming under the surface of their coordinated performance. No one wanted to be the first to look weak. No one wanted to be the one to confess they had been losing control over you for months. But pressure doesn't evaporate, it compresses. And the one who finally broke was the one who pretended to be the most composed. They slammed their palms down on the table, stood up, and shouted your name, like it was a warning bell, not a person. The room froze. They weren't supposed to reveal anything. They weren't supposed to admit how long they'd been running this operation. They weren't supposed to show their fear. But fear has its own schedule, and it didn't ask for permission. The meltdown was messy, not strategic, not dramatic in an elegant way, just raw panic. They blurted everything. The person who orchestrated the smear attempts, the one who studied your triggers, the one who monitored your interactions online, the one who rewrote stories about you before you could speak. They exposed the hidden chain of people who were instructed to manage you, watch you, contain you. Every word came out jagged, frantic, like they were purging poison from their lungs. And the others, they didn't know what to do. They stared, shocked, horrified, knowing the operation was ruined the moment honesty started bleeding into the room. Let's talk about why this happened. They didn't just lose their grip on the plan. They lost their grip on themselves. Because the truth is unsettling, the person they were targeting wasn't someone weak, wasn't someone predictable, wasn't someone who could be pushed into emotional corners and left there. They expected you to break in the ways they understood. They expected you to respond to pressure like everyone else they've ever managed. But you don't move according to their expectations. And that unpredictability created a fracture in their confidence that widened over time until someone finally cracked wide open. The ringleader, the origin of this entire operation, built the plan on one assumption: that you would react, that you would lash out, that you would crumble, spiral, or confront. They needed your reaction to justify their actions. They needed your instability to justify their narrative. They needed your confusion to maintain their power. But when you stopped engaging, when you stepped back, when you started healing without their involvement, the structure of their plan began collapsing. They were no longer in control of your outcome. They were spectators, watching you rebuild without them, and that terrified them more than anything. The confession revealed something disturbing but satisfying. You were never the problem. You were the mirror. You reflected back the insecurities they refused to acknowledge within themselves. You reflected their fear of irrelevance, their fear of being exposed, their fear of losing influence. They couldn't handle that reflection, so they tried to shatter it by targeting you. But mirrors don't die when you break them. They multiply. Every shattered piece reflects a sharper truth. And those truths cornered them until one finally screamed. They admitted to planting people near you, Not physically dangerous people, emotionally strategic ones. People who seemed helpful, interested, supportive, kind. People who acted like they discovered you randomly, like they were drawn to your energy by coincidence. But these weren't coincidences. These were placements, assignments. Individuals told to observe you, collect information, decode patterns, identify weaknesses. They were told to return with intel that could be used against you later. But here's the part that broke their operation. Most of those planted individuals failed. They came back empty-handed because you didn't give them anything to exploit. You didn't hand out emotional leverage like they hoped. You didn't reveal the wounds they were searching for. Some of them even switched sides internally. Spending time with you forced them to confront truths about themselves they weren't ready to face. Their strategy had phases, carefully crafted, documented, rehearsed. Phase 1. Isolate you emotionally. Pull away your support systems. Make people doubt you. Make you doubt yourself. They whispered into the right ears, encouraged certain opinions, staged conversations that painted you as difficult, unstable, or dramatic. But you didn't collapse. You didn't chase after explanations. You adapted. You found strength in the solitude they created as a trap. That alone ruined the integrity of their plan. Phase 2. Provoke you. Push your buttons until you reacted poorly. They wanted anger, tears, defensive behavior, anything that could be used to confirm their accusations. But your restraint was unnerving. You didn't react to their bait. You didn't fall into the emotional traps they set. That restraint became a threat to them. When you refuse to react, manipulators lose their map. Phase 3. Control the narrative. They rehearsed lines about you, practiced facial expressions, coordinated stories, synchronized versions of events so that if anyone questioned them, they'd sound unified and credible. But narrative control fails the moment the truth slips out. And someone in their group slipped, not once, not twice, but catastrophically. Phase 4. Replace you. Bring in new people to fill the role you once played. Introduce substitutes to show you're not needed. But replacements never work. When the original wasn't performing a role, you were simply being yourself. They brought in people who lacked your depth, your awareness, your stamina, your presence. The substitutes cracked under pressure while you rose. The comparison wasn't flattering for them. During the confession, someone shouted, "We shouldn't have let it get this far." Another mumbled, "We underestimated them." Another finally murmured, "We lost control the moment they stopped caring." That line silenced the room, because it was the truth they'd been trying to avoid. You pulled the cord on their influence the moment you detached emotionally, and they had no strategy for someone who wasn't afraid to walk away. The meltdown exposed something deeper. Jealousy disguised as concern. Fear disguised as responsibility. Projection disguised as protection. They never targeted you because of who you were. They targeted you because of who they weren't. And watching you grow made them feel like they were shrinking. So they built a plan to contain you, not out of hatred, but out of desperation. They were trying to protect their comfort, not your well-being. But comfort collapses when pressure hits, and pressure hit them hard. They admitted to sabotaging opportunities around you, encouraging people to distance themselves from you, misreporting things you said, exaggerating your mistakes, minimizing your achievements, creating situations where you looked unreliable or unstable. They inserted doubt into places you were supposed to feel safe. They twisted your strengths into weaknesses through careful editing. But editing only works when the original is flawed. Your authenticity made their distortions look sloppy. One member, during the meltdown said, "We built this entire plan on the assumption they'd fall apart." But they didn't. And the person sitting next to them responded, "We fell apart instead." Hearing that truth out loud destroyed the last piece of unity they had left. You survived their plan because you weren't participating in it. They were fighting a war you weren't even aware existed. Meanwhile, you were building a life that wasn't connected to their insecurities. Now the most important part, they revealed who started it, but not yet who expanded it. This drama has layers, and the meltdown only exposed the core. The outer rings, the people influenced by the central players, the ones who joined the operation without realizing the original motive, those names haven't surfaced yet. But they will. The confession has already started unraveling the structure. Once one person exposes the truth, others will follow, not out of loyalty, but out of fear. They'll reveal more than they intend to, because maintaining lies becomes impossible once the first truth erupts. The bomb they dropped wasn't just about the past, it was about the future. They admitted the plan wasn't over, it was still active. There were still moves they intended to make, still strategies they were waiting to execute, still narratives they were preparing to spread. But now that the confession has cracked their unity, their timing is off. Their communication is compromised. Their trust in each other is dissolving. The plan they crafted so carefully is falling apart, piece by piece. And here's where things get beautifully chaotic. The meltdown triggered an internal witch hunt. They aren't united anymore. They're suspicious, paranoid, blaming each other for things they all participated in. The moment one person confessed, their hierarchy shattered. Now everyone is pointing fingers, trying to figure out who will be the next to break. They're terrified of being exposed as deeper participants in the dirty plan targeting you. Some of them weren't heavily involved at first, but guilt pulls people in directions they never planned to go. A few joined because they didn't want to look disloyal. A few joined because they feared the ringleader. A few joined simply because they were weak and enjoyed watching someone else get cornered. But now that the truth is leaking, those same people are sprinting away from the mess like roaches when the lights come on. What's ironic is that the meltdown didn't just expose the plan, it exposed the personalities. You can tell more about a person by how they react to chaos than by how they behave in calm moments. And in that room, when the bomb dropped, their true selves surfaced violently. One person started hyperventilating, another demanded names, another immediately tried to rewrite their involvement by lying about who did what. Another pretended they always disagreed with the plan, even though they were one of the loudest voices pushing it forward weeks earlier. Watching them scramble wasn't just satisfying, it was educational. They revealed the emotional architecture behind the operation. Fear at the top, insecurity as the foundation, envy woven into the walls. The bomb they dropped didn't just uncover a plan, it exposed how far they were willing to go to keep their narrative intact. They admitted they had backup strategies in motion in case the main plan failed. They had secondary characters ready to be activated. They had additional rumors waiting to be released. They had emotional traps already drafted. They weren't improvising. They were strategizing how to make you look unstable when their original blueprint stopped working. But everything came crashing down once truth slipped into the wrong moment. Truth is a ruthless force. Once it enters a room, it refuses to leave quietly. Let's break down exactly what they admitted next, and pay attention, because this is where things shift from dirty to downright absurd. They revealed there were 3 categories of people involved: The architects, the assistants, and the accidental recruits. The architects were the main brains behind the operation, the ones who created the plan. The assistants were the ones carrying out tasks, spreading narratives, collecting information, manipulating interactions. And the accidental recruits? Those were the people who didn't even realize they were being used to reinforce someone else's agenda. They were guided into certain opinions without knowing where those opinions originated. They were encouraged to keep an eye on you without realizing what that phrase really meant. They were manipulated into participating without being told the full story. The meltdown exposed all three layers, but not completely. Not yet. They confessed the architects. They confessed the main strategist. They even exposed one assistant who panicked first. But the accidental recruits? Those are the ones who will surface slowly, one by one, as the unraveling continues. Some will confess out of guilt. Some will confess out of fear. Some will confess because they want to distance themselves before someone else names them. And some won't confess at all. They'll simply disappear from the edges of your life, hoping you never connect the dots. But you will. Because now the pattern is visible. The confession also revealed something else. The plan originally had a timeline. They expected you to break months ago. They expected you to give them reactions they could twist. They expected you to panic, lash out, collapse emotionally. They built an entire arc based on predicting your downfall, but they miscalculated your strength so severely that their predictions became useless. You didn't collapse. You didn't give them the tremor they needed. You didn't fall into the emotional traps that would allow them to say, "See, we told you." And because you didn't perform the breakdown they predicted, their entire narrative fell apart. They needed your weakness to validate their gossip. They needed your instability to justify their behavior. They needed your reaction to cement their story. When you didn't respond the way they scripted, the plan began decaying. They admitted something chilling but unintentionally comedic. They had emergency meetings about your silence. Yes, they panicked because you weren't reacting. One of them said, "Why aren't they doing anything?" Another responded, "Maybe they don't know what we did." And someone else whispered, "No, they know. That's what scares me." Your calmness became a threat. Your lack of response became ammunition. Your emotional self-control was the blow they never prepared for. They had plans for drama, confrontation, chaos, but they didn't have a plan for self-respect. Their meltdown, ironically, was caused by the very thing they tried to weaponize against you: pressure. They created a high-pressure environment for you, hoping you'd crack first. But all that pressure rebounded onto them, slowly crushing their unity, until someone burst. Pressure is a funny thing. It exposes structure. And the structure of their operation was so fragile that one confession shattered it. After the initial explosion, the room became a battlefield. People were shouting over one another, accusing each other of going too far, not going far enough, starting the plan, ruining the plan, executing the plan poorly, losing control of the plan, misreading your reactions, misjudging your strength, spreading the wrong narratives, and trusting the wrong people. Suddenly, everyone was a victim. Everyone was blaming everyone else. Everyone was rewriting history. But there was no way to rewrite the truth that had already been spoken. One of the most revealing lines dropped in that meltdown, the one that drained the blood from the faces of at least 3 people, was this: "We tried everything. Nothing worked. They don't break. They don't respond. They don't react." And the room went silent because the truth was undeniable. They lost control the moment you chose peace instead of panic. They lost power the moment you stepped back instead of stepping into their trap. They lost momentum the moment you prioritized your growth over their drama. They weren't fighting you. They were fighting their own inability to shake you. But here's where the story moves into deeper territory. The meltdown exposed the next stage of the plan. Not the past, not the current moment, the future. They admitted they were waiting for the right time to reactivate certain elements. They had people who were supposed to approach you again at strategic moments. They had narratives they planned to reintroduce when you least expected it. They had emotional angles they wanted to exploit later. But those strategies now lie in ruins because the confession forced a collapse in trust. They can't coordinate anymore without wondering who's secretly recording, who's secretly leaking, who's secretly panicking. Their fear is no longer about you discovering the truth you already have. Their fear is about each other. And nothing destroys a covert operation faster than internal mistrust. But the most chaotic part, the one that exposes how deeply their plans spiraled out of their grasp, is what one person admitted in a moment of complete emotional exhaustion. We didn't just target them, we became obsessed with them. That line cracked the room open in a different way, because obsession is different from strategy. Strategy is clean. Obsession is messy. Strategy is structured. Obsession is compulsive. Strategy is controlled. Obsession is dangerous. And what they confessed wasn't calculated. It was compulsive. They couldn't stop talking about you. They couldn't stop analyzing you. They couldn't stop tracking your progress. They couldn't stop watching your silence. You became the ghost living in their decision-making. That admission turned the room into a confession chamber. Someone else groaned, holding their face like the truth finally stepped on their chest. They were supposed to fade, they said. Why didn't they fade? Another added, because we created the obsession ourselves. And that's when reality punched all of them at once. They weren't hunters, they were addicts. Not addicted to hurting you, but addicted to the illusion that they could control you. Addicted to the fantasy that manipulating your environment would shape your behavior. Addicted to the idea that you were predictable. That addiction is exactly why their plan unraveled. Because obsession is sloppy. It blurs lines. It pushes people to extend operations longer than necessary. It makes them escalate even when escalation is risky. And that's precisely what they did. They escalated past logic until the entire structure collapsed under the weight of their own compulsions. The confession spiraled deeper when another voice in the room admitted they had been checking on you more frequently than anyone else. Not out of strategy, but out of anxiety. They said they monitored your online presence because they felt uneasy when you disappeared. As if disappearing was a crime. As if your silence somehow threatened their sense of control. They didn't realize the irony. The very thing they tried to take from you, autonomy, was the very thing they lost within themselves. They became prisoners of their own obsession. They couldn't make a move without wondering how you would respond, even when you weren't responding at all. Their plan consumed them more than it ever touched you. One assistant admitted they felt relieved every time you looked tired or overwhelmed, not because they wanted you harmed, but because it reassured them that their plan was working. But your resilience dismantled that tiny illusion too. The moment you pulled yourself together, found clarity, found calm, found grounding, that's when they panicked. Because nothing is more terrifying to people who want control than someone who rises from the ashes they set for them. They expected exhaustion to last. They expected confusion to linger. They expected emotional instability to grip you permanently. But your recovery wasn't just healing, it was sabotage. You ruined their storyline by refusing to stay broken. Someone else confessed something even dirtier, something that made the room tilt. They said they created conversations about you even when nothing had happened. They exaggerated small moments. They magnified neutral events. They twisted mundane interactions into dramatized narratives because they needed material to keep the operation alive. But exaggeration requires fuel, and you stopped giving them anything to work with. Their content dried up. Their ammunition evaporated. They ran out of reasons to justify their obsession. And when a liar runs out of lies, the lies begin turning on them. Now here is the part they never wanted exposed. They didn't just target your reputation. They targeted your perception of yourself. That was the actual goal. Not to destroy you externally, but to disrupt you internally. They hoped that by planting enough shadows in conversations, in dynamics, in social circles, you would begin doubting your instincts. But here's the irony they didn't see coming. The more they tried to distort your perception, the clearer you became. When the environment turned strange, you sharpened. When people started acting unpredictable, you grew observant. When energy shifted, you detached. Their attempt to destabilize you only made you more precise. One of the members in the room muttered something like, "They weren't supposed to evolve this fast." As if your growth offended them, as if your strength violated the script. They genuinely believed you would stay in place long enough for their plan to succeed. But people who are targeted often experience accelerated evolution. That's something they never accounted for. Pressure can crush some. But the right person, pressure forges them. And you weren't the type to fold. You were the type to sharpen. The chaos didn't end with confessions. It escalated. Someone accused the architect of dragging everyone into a disaster with no exit. Another pointed out that the plan was unethical from day one. Another snapped that they warned this would backfire. They began fracturing into factions: guilt faction, denial faction, panic faction, self-preservation faction. Meanwhile, the ringleader sat in silence, realizing the plan wasn't just ruined, it was radioactive. No one wanted to be associated with it anymore. No one wanted their name connected to what had just been exposed. And that's when the finger-pointing became vicious. Someone shouted, "You said this would be easy." Another retorted, "You're the one who chose them as a target." Someone else spat, "No, you're the one who kept escalating every time they didn't react." And the ringleader finally exploded, because their lack of reaction was the problem. That line said everything. Your stillness did more damage to their operation than any counterattack could have. You broke their formula simply by not playing your assigned role. You weren't reactive, you weren't chaotic, you weren't unstable, you didn't crumble, you didn't plead, you didn't chase. You didn't try to fix what they intentionally broke. Your stillness mocked their strategy. Your peace insulted their design. Your silence triggered their collapse. But the story gets deeper. After the meltdown, each of them realized they had underestimated the psychological force they were dealing with. They admitted they never fully understood you. They only understood the version of you they invented. And that version cracked under pressure. But the real you? That version didn't crack. That version adapted. That version looked at the mess, looked at the manipulation, looked at the betrayal, and chose to rebuild instead of react. Your self-control became their undoing. Then came the confession that silenced even the loudest voices. We thought they were the weak one. Turns out we were the weak ones. That line wasn't just truth. It was a burial. Because once someone admits they are the weaker force, the battle ends. You won a war you didn't even know was happening, without lifting a single weapon. Now here is where the collapsing operation becomes dangerous, not for you, but for them. They know the truth is loose. They know more people will crack. They know secrets have momentum once they escape. And now they're scrambling to find ways to contain the fallout. Some are trying to rewrite recollections. Some are trying to privately apologize without admitting guilt. Some are distancing themselves publicly. Some are deleting evidence. Some are pretending they were never involved. And some, the most panicked ones, are preparing to betray everyone else just to save themselves. The unraveling is no longer theoretical. It's happening in real time. The confession was only the first domino. The next domino will be the expansion, the reveal of who else was involved, and exactly how deep it went. Internal fear always triggers external revelations, and the ones who feel their reputation is most at risk. Those are the ones who spill the fastest. They are terrified of one thing now: exposure. Because exposure ruins everything they thought they could protect. Exposure doesn't threaten you, it threatens them. You survived the targeting. They won't survive the truth about the targeting. And this fear, this twitching, sweating, heart-racing fear, is exactly why the next stage of the collapse is much uglier than the first. The first confession was emotional, impulsive, a breakdown. But what's coming next is strategic self-preservation. They're not confessing because they feel bad. They're confessing because they want to save themselves. And that kind of fear makes people reckless. It makes them reveal things they once vowed to take to the grave. It makes them talk faster than their brain can filter. And in the scramble to protect their names, they will end up exposing the people behind them, the people beside them, and the people above them. This is the beauty of a collapsing operation. Once truth breaks the seal, betrayal becomes contagious. Now here's where the real chaos begins. The outer ring, the ones who thought they were safe because they didn't do much, are starting to panic. They're realizing that even standing close to the explosion is enough to burn them. Some are desperately trying to distance themselves, rewriting their roles in their heads, convincing themselves that involvement is optional if they simply deny it loud enough. Others are pretending they were manipulated into participating, claiming they didn't know the full story, as if ignorance absolves responsibility. And then there are the ones who are switching sides quietly, the ones who now want to align with you because they sense which direction the wind is blowing. These people are the most dangerous, not because they're still against you, but because they're about to leak information in an attempt to appear innocent. You'll start noticing subtle shifts first. People who once avoided eye contact will suddenly seem nervous around you. People who once participated in whispers will become overly polite. People who once sided against you will act like they barely know what happened. It's not guilt, it's fear. Fear of being named, fear of being dragged into the ripple effect of the confession, fear of being associated with the losing side. And there's something darkly humorous about watching them scramble to rewrite their moral identities, as if they can magically transform themselves into uninvolved bystanders with a few strategic smiles and half-hearted apologies. But the deeper unraveling, that's coming from the core group, the architects and assistants who were knee-deep in the plan. Their fear isn't soft and social. Their fear is existential. They know the confession didn't just expose one action. It exposed an entire mindset. It exposed their intentions, their desires, their motives. They are losing more than their image. They are losing the illusion of power they built over years. And once an illusion cracks, people stop fearing it. One of them already tried to gather the remaining participants in a private meeting to stabilize the situation. The irony is almost comedic. The same group that coordinated strategies to destabilize you is now collapsing because one member destabilized them. They sat in that room trying to piece together a story that would make them look like victims, not aggressors. They tried to create a counter-narrative, blaming the person who confessed, calling them dramatic, sensitive, exaggerating. But every attempt at rewriting the story fell flat, because the truth was already out. You can't put a bomb back together after it explodes. Their next attempt was even more desperate. They tried to convince each other that you probably don't know the full extent of what was said, that maybe the confession didn't reach your ears, that maybe they still have time to regroup. But panic gives people away. The moment someone said, "We need to figure out what they know," the room fell apart again. Because that sentence revealed the one thing no one wanted to say out loud. They're no longer worried about controlling your perception. They're worried about being held accountable for theirs. The funniest part. They still think they can outrun a truth that's already sprinting ahead of them. They still believe they can manipulate the aftermath the same way they tried to manipulate the storyline. But truth has a strange way of amplifying itself. Once it leaves someone's mouth, it grows legs. It moves into conversations, into whispers, into the spaces between people. It replicates, and the more they try to contain it, the louder it becomes. One assistant, the one who swore loyalty to the core group, is already considering flipping. They're terrified because they weren't just involved. They were enthusiastic. They helped build the operation brick by brick. They spread narratives with conviction. They collected information eagerly. They executed tasks without hesitation. But now they're realizing they were nothing but a tool. They did the dirty work while the architects kept their hands clean. And this assistant, fueled by betrayal, resentment, and panic, is about to become your best accidental ally. Because people who feel used don't stay quiet for long. They're preparing to drop their own bomb, not out of morality, not out of remorse, but out of revenge. One of the architects, the mastermind behind the entire plan, is unraveling the fastest. They're terrified not because they care about getting caught, but because they care about losing control. Their entire identity was built on the illusion that they can predict and shape outcomes. But your unpredictability has become the crack in their foundation that keeps widening. They can't understand how you slipped through their strategies. They can't understand how you recovered without their approval. They can't understand how their sabotage turned into your evolution, and now they're terrified of you, not because you're dangerous, but because you're ungovernable. And here's where the dark humor kicks in. These people weren't prepared for the consequences of their own actions. They set the trap. They built the narrative. They crafted the manipulation. But when the fallout arrived, they acted shocked, as if the truth comes with a warning label, as if exposure waits for permission, as if accountability is optional. They wanted to play puppet masters, but forgot that puppeteers can't control the show when the strings snap. The confession created a fracture that can't be sealed. The expansion will expose connections they hoped were invisible. And the deeper layer, the one they hoped no one would ever find out, reveals that the targeting wasn't just coordinated. It was personal. It was emotional. It was rooted in envy so old they forgot when it started. Someone wanted you broken because your existence made them uncomfortable. Someone wanted you quiet because your presence made them feel small. Someone wanted you destabilized because your clarity highlighted their confusion. These weren't strategic decisions. These were emotional outbursts dressed as planning. The explosive part is this: the next confessions won't happen in controlled environments. They won't happen in private meetings. They won't happen in rooms filled with co-conspirators. They'll happen in unpredictable places, in conversations they didn't mean to have, in whispers that slip out, in moments of accidental honesty triggered by stress. Exposure won't be linear. It'll be chaotic, spreading like fire along every dry edge of their conscience. You'll see it soon. The people who once avoided you will suddenly become overly friendly. The people who once whispered about you will avoid eye contact. The people who once inserted themselves into your business will quietly retreat. The guilt will surface in micro-expressions. The panic will show in their timing. The truth will leak from their inconsistencies. Watch closely. The unraveling is a performance they can't rehearse. And the best part: the next bomb is already ticking. Not a bomb you placed, not a bomb you activated, but a bomb built from their own lies, strapped together by their own panic, and lit by their own desperation. When it detonates, the names you hear next will change the entire context of what was done to you. Because the next layer exposes the motive behind the motive, the person who wasn't just involved, but who initiated the emotional tone of the attack. The real puppeteer, the one whose insecurity infected the entire group. This individual, the one hiding behind subtlety, behind influence, behind a carefully curated image, is the real origin point. Not the one who snapped, not the assistant who panicked, not the accidental recruit who followed orders. No, this one is the quiet architect. The person whose presence warped the behavior of everyone around them. The person whose jealousy turned into strategy. The person whose resentment grew fangs. They were terrified of you long before the plan had a name. Terrified of how easily people respected you. Terrified of how naturally you carried yourself. Terrified that you didn't need theatrics to be relevant. Their insecurity was a quiet flame at first, manageable, ignorable, until you evolved in a way they couldn't match. So they engineered a plan to dim you, not because you were dangerous, but because your authenticity exposed their performance. They didn't want to destroy you. They wanted to shrink you. They wanted to prove they could influence your narrative. They wanted to feel powerful by making you feel small. But something went wrong, and the wrong thing was you. You didn't respond the way they expected. You didn't give them the emotional collapse they wanted to point at. You didn't crumble. You rose. Quietly, consistently, intentionally. And their insecurity mutated into obsession because nothing terrifies a puppeteer more than a puppet that cuts its own strings. And this is why the second bomb is unavoidable. The group can't protect the puppeteer anymore. Not after the first confession, not after the room fracture, not after panic infected their hierarchy. When a group collapses, the person with the most influence becomes the easiest target. The same people who once supported them will now expose them. The same people who once feared them will now blame them. The same people who once followed them will now drag them into the light to save themselves. Loyalty was never real among them. It was convenience disguised as unity. And convenience evaporates under pressure. So what happens next? Exposure, but not the dramatic kind. Exposure through small leaks. Exposure through nervous confessions. Exposure through conversations where someone says a little too much. Exposure through messages accidentally forwarded. Exposure through patterns that finally make sense. The puppeteer will be revealed not by grand announcement, but by the slow peeling of layers until their fingerprints show on every part of the plan. And once they're exposed, the entire structure they built, the manipulation, the narratives, the hidden motivations, will collapse under the weight of truth. And here's the twist they never counted on. While the truth destroys them, it frees you. Their bomb hurts them, not you. Their lies turn into evidence, not damage. Their panic becomes your closure. They never expected the story to end like this. They thought they were writing a downfall. Instead, they authored their own. Because what they dropped, this full bomb of dirty truth about who targeted you, doesn't haunt you. It haunts them. You're not the one losing sleep. You're not the one rehearsing excuses. You're not the one terrified of exposure. They are. You walked through this fire and came out clearer, sharper, more self-aware. They walked into their own chaos and came out scorched, shaking, looking for someone to blame. This is what they couldn't predict. The truth was never going to break you. It was going to break the ones who built the lie. And now that the dust is settling, something crucial becomes obvious. You didn't need revenge. You didn't need confrontation. You didn't need to expose anyone. You simply needed to stand still and let their own actions reveal who they were. And they did, spectacularly. They dropped the bomb they designed for you. But it detonated in their hands. And in that blast, every hidden motive, every whispered plot, every concealed strategy became visible. They lost it all trying to target someone who couldn't be broken. And you walk away with something they never expected. The truth. Not the watered-down, edited version. The full version. The version they hid. The version they feared. The version that sets you free and traps them in the fallout they created. This isn't just closure. It's confirmation. The final stamp on a story you didn't start. But you sure as hell finished.